This man is a painter. This man is a Nazi officer. And the painting between them is a fake that fooled him completely. 2 years later, that same painting would put him on trial for his life. His name was Han van Meegeren, and if the court believed the charge against him, he would be executed. Because he had sold that painting to Göring as a lost masterpiece by Vermeer. But the truth was, Vermeer never painted it.
So the question wasn't whether he lied. It was, how does a man prove his own crime to escape a bigger one?
The story starts years earlier, 1930s Holland, where Han van Meegeren dreamed of becoming the greatest painter in the world. But critics called his style outdated, while the world moved toward modern art. One critic went further, writing, "Van Meegeren has talent, but no originality."
The words ate at him. If the world wouldn't take him seriously, he decided he'd prove the world wrong.
He planned to paint something so convincing the world would believe it was made by Vermeer himself, a 17th century Dutch master. But it wouldn't be easy. He needed centuries-old canvas, hand-mixed paint, and a way to make it look 300 years old. He discovered that mixing a chemical called bakelite into the paint, then baking it, made it crack exactly like century-old paint.
This was only the beginning. What he painted next would fool the greatest art experts alive, and what happened after, no one could have predicted.
He called it Christ and the Adulteress. The story he invented, it had belonged to an old European family, now selling it. In 1937, the experts examined it, and together they declared, "This is a genuine Vermeer." The painting went on display, seen by hundreds of thousands, and he earned what today would be worth millions. But then came 1940, and Nazi Germany occupied Holland. During the occupation, Nazi officer Hermann Göring, one of Hitler's closest men, began collecting art, mostly stolen. Through a middleman, word reached Göring that a lost Vermeer was for sale. He demanded it immediately. Van Meegeren sold the painting for millions. At the time, he believed he'd won. What he didn't know, this decision would become the greatest danger of his life. 1945. The war ended. The Allies began searching for all the art the Nazis had stolen.
And they found it, the same painting in Göring's collection. Records were checked, and they led straight to Han van Meegeren's door.
He was arrested, charged with collaborating with the enemy. At the time, this was one of the gravest crimes possible. If proven that he knowingly sold his country's heritage to the enemy, the consequences would be severe and irreversible. Now he had only one option left: to confess that the painting wasn't Vermeer's at all. It was his.
But the problem was, no one believed him. The world's greatest experts had already declared the painting real.
Prove it, Mr. Van Meegeren. Paint us another one. Van Meegeren agreed. Give me a canvas, a brush, and guards to watch me. I'll show you. It became one of the strangest courtroom experiments in history. The world watching a man paint a new masterpiece, live, to save his own life. For weeks, under armed guard, he used the very technique he'd once used to copy Vermeer himself. And finally, in front of him stood a new Vermeer, created in front of the very people who called him a liar. The experts were stunned. It was identical to the lost Vermeer sold to Göring. He hadn't just painted a picture, he had proven he wasn't a traitor. He was a con artist who had fooled the greatest experts in the world. The court agreed. He had sold Göring a fake, not a national treasure. The treason charge was dropped. Instead, a minor charge of fraud, just 1 year's sentence. Nothing compared to death. Overnight, the press turned him from traitor to hero. The headline read, "Van Meegeren fooled the Nazis." All of Holland saw him differently now, a man who had outsmarted the enemy with nothing but a paintbrush. But just months later, his health began to fail. Years of pressure and a secret life had taken their toll on his heart. In December 1947, Han van Meegeren died as a hero to a world that had called him a traitor only months before.
But his story doesn't end there. Decades later, art historians discovered over a dozen more of his forgeries, some still hanging in museums today, believed to be real.
His story is still used today as a warning in the art world that even expertise can be fooled by confidence.
Because the truth is, sometimes the biggest deception is the one everyone is willing to believe. But there's another side to this story, the man who bought the fake. Hermann Göring was obsessed with art and proudly displayed what he believed was an authentic Vermeer. After the war, during his own interrogation, investigators told him the painting he prized most was a forgery, made by a struggling Dutch painter to mock the art world. Witnesses in the room said it was the first time anyone had seen him truly shaken, not by the war crimes he was facing, but by the fact that a painter had outsmarted him completely. Months later, Göring was sentenced to death. He died in his cell the night before. The empire he served was gone, and his proudest victory was never real.